Warning: the following program may contain material not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Kill the noise and cut the static. Broadcasting from high in the mountains of West Virginia, we're leaving the 9 to 5 in the rearview mirror. The engine is warm, the lights are green, and it's finally time to shift your Wednesday into overdrive. And now, here's your host, Diego the Podcaster.
On this episode of Bonus Overdrive Wednesday, from the gritty rings of Sanford, North Carolina, to the hard-hitting battlegrounds of the Indies, today's guest has paid his dues of blood, sweat, and miles. He's left his mark across the map, trading blows in Power Pro Wrestling, tearing it up in AIWF Mid Atlantic, and going to war in NWA Anarchy. He's sitting down with us today to talk about the highs, the grueling lows, and the chaotic reality of life on the road as a professional wrestler. All this plus more. Please welcome our good friend, the Italian-American bad boy, the mafioso, the Italian stallion, Tommy Penirelli. Tommy, my friend, welcome to Bonus Overdrive Wednesday.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Sure, man. And
Pleasure to be here.
no, the pleasure is all on this side of the table, as I say, because last time you and I think you and I wrestled each other in a tag match. Who were you tagging with? We were just talking about that. I'm sorry. It was
I was
Gluteus Maximus.
tagging. Yep, Gluteus Maximus,
And
Sandy.
I was with Dice. We're called the High Rollers. It was a lot of fun, and we actually got to wrestle each other, and we just caught up a little bit. I mean, shoot, I think the last time I saw you was 2009. It's my last time at Power Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, sounds about right. To be
And
honest with you, Diego, that match was one of my. I think that was my second tag match total.
oh wow, really?
Yeah, I was
Man.
when you came into Power Pro. I had, and by the time we wrestled, I had just got done training under Scrapyard Dog, and that was like I want to say it was my second tag match overall. Like I never did a tag match for Power Pro. I did a tag match somewhere else, but that was my second tag match overall total at that point.
And when talking about Power Pro, is that where you guys started? Was that your first promotion?
Yes, Power Pro Wrestling in Sanford, North Carolina. That's where I started. Um, God, I lived in Myrtle Beach at the time. I was driving 3 hours to Sanford on a weekend to go train, and I trained under Scrapyard Dog. Had to pay the dues to Foley. Um, But yeah, that's where I started. That's where I what is that? Cut my cloth or whatever that's called.
That sounds about right. I mean, yeah, that sounds about right. Now, being that you were trained on the scrapyard, and I know the type of wrestler that he was, and I knew the type of wrestling mind that he had. When I was down there, I mean, I would have the pretty deep conversations, not about philosophy or politics, religion, nothing like that.
Right.
We talked about wrestling, our love for wrestling, and the mechanics of wrestling and storytelling. How was it training under him?
Whew. At first, it was a little intimidating. The first time I ever saw a Scrapyard Dog wrestle was actually in Aner, South Carolina. That they put on a show down there probably about 6 months prior to me beginning, I think. Um, it was a little intimidating at first because Scrap took it may he rest in peace. Scrap took it very seriously, very seriously. Um, he didn't beat the crap out of me or us. But he made sure that we knew that this wasn't a game.
And how long did you train with him for before you actually had your first match?
I want to say I think it was like 6 or 7 months.
Okay, that's respectable. Now, and you probably remember this, even back then, there was a lot of people who were training other people. A lot of schools were coming out. And I remember seeing a lot of these cats where they might have trained for a few weeks and they're already out there getting booked. With a lot,
See,
yeah.
we were so against that, man. We were so against that. That's how people get hurt.
Yeah, I mean, I used to see some people get their asses handed to them like that too.
Hmm. But I was very fortunate. Scrap wound up becoming. Excuse me. I always get a little emotional when I talk about Scrap because he was such a big influence on me. He was like a second dad. I used to call him my wrestling dad. Um, yeah, he had me train for about 6 months. I mean, for the first couple of weeks, it was nothing but bumps, 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 bumps. That's all it was. And oh my God, I'd walk away sore every time. He used to have a crush on my mother, go believe it or not.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm sorry. I get a little choked up when I talk about Scrap because I miss him so much. Um, but yeah, he was a great man and a great wrestler. Fantastic.
Yeah, and I know that he also did a couple things towards the end of his career. I know he was doing some podcasting. He also wrote a book.
Yep. He wrote a book, but that was actually during Power Pro days. He wrote that book. But to be honest, Scrap, Scrap legitimately wrestled.
Mhm.
w- I hate to put it this way, but Scrap legitimately wrestled until the day he died. He never stopped. He took a short break when his manager, aka girlfriend, got sick, but he went back to wrestling. But to be honest, when it came to Scrap and his manager got sick, that was very hard for him, and I think that's where he kind of was like, okay, whatever happens, happens. I hate to put it that way, but I just don't know any other way to explain it.
And during that 6 month period you were training with him,
Hmm.
you probably, I mean, I have a kind of the same experiences when I was training. You see a lot of people come in, a lot of people wash out, depending on how they were being trained or by who. But when you were there, were there some that just couldn't take that type of training? Did they stick to it?
Um, to be honest, for me, I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, there was no giving up. It's what I wanted to do. It's how I wanted to take care of, you know, my family when I had one. Uh, there was no giving up, not for me. And I think the reason, majority of the reason, because my whole life, I've always wanted to be a pro wrestler from the time I was a kid. The same old story you hear from everybody, and everybody always told me I couldn't do it. So I was either too short, too fat, not athletic enough, can't do this, can't do this. And I just figured, and I always kept it inside of my head that if I quit, then I was proving them right.
Yeah, I don't think Scrap would have let you quit anyway, because he probably saw something in you. He was trying to get it out of you.
Well, to be honest, I'm trying to remember, almost 20 years ago, but there was there was no quitting as far as the training goes. It wasn't until I, started having matches, probably like my first or second singles match, where I was like, I called myself Scrap. I can't do this. Like I suck. I suck. And Scrap talked me out of it, and he was like, dude, some along the lines of, I got you're one of the, well, at the time I was one of his favorites that he trained. So he kind of told me, are you going to prove I don't know, I don't want to use the wrong language here, so please forgive me, but to quote Scrap, he was like, are you going to be a pussy your whole life, or are you going to do something? When I heard that, it was like, all right, keep watching video, keep going to the matches, watch the matches, practice, 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 practice.
Yeah, you got to study the films too to see what the things that make sense, the things that don't make sense.
Yep.
And that's one of the things about him that when we talked about, it's just he loved the mechanics of it. How do you get to one move? Why are we here? How do you get there? And that's a very important thing, especially when you're out there. And also learning how to protect yourself too. Because there's times you're gonna get in some certain predicaments. You gotta know how to get out of them or dish it back. And we've all gone through that before. We've been tested and back. I don't know how it is now, but you have to give it back to earn the respect.
Well, pretty much, I can't speak for anybody else except for maybe Scrapyard and Robert, but Scrap was very, he was going to put me to the limits. He was going to make sure before I did any type of match for Power Pro, he was going to make sure I'm ready. And how he tested me is you remember Caprice Coleman?
I do.
Okay. So Caprice Coleman was practicing a springboard crossbody, and he wanted someone to take it, and nobody was volunteering. So Scrap said, Tommy will take it. And I was like, uh-oh. He goes, just remember what I taught you. Remember how you were trained. So I went in. Caprice went up. I took a step in. I caught him, wrote him down, and I never saw it. Scrap kind of like jumped, like, yes, that's my trainee. And that's when I knew I was like, I did it. I can do it.
Yeah, I remember Caprice very well. Now, did he go to Florida? Something like that, or
I honestly don't know what happened to Caprice, to be honest with you. Last time I ever saw or heard of him, he was on Ring of Honor. I don't know if he still is or not.
oh wow. I mean, that's a hell of a thing to do. Ring of Honor is some of the best do go there. And you mentioned something that earlier in our conversation that you always want to be a pro wrestler. I was the same way. Ever since I was a little kid and onward. But there's that one time or that one wrestler or two where you watch and say, now I'm convinced I want to do this. Um, which one inspired you to finally lace up your boots and actually start training?
I had I had about 3 or 4 of them, if you want to know the truth. So Bret Hart,
Bingo. Okay, go ahead.
Shawn Michaels, and then when I started watching ECW, Taz, because I loved him, I loved the attitude. But as far as, and probably gonna get some heat for this, Chris Benoit.
Oh yeah, but we're gonna separate what happened and we're gonna put it in as far as the talent in the ring.
Yep.
And I'll tell you mine because you hit the very first one for me was Bret Hart, and later on, right as I was almost out of high school, ESPN used to play had wrestling on at one point.
Mhm.
And do you remember Global Wrestling?
Oh yeah.
I started watching Global, and they had guys of all sizes, but they had guys that were kind of my size or maybe a little bit bigger. I always thought, man, if I'm going to go in there, people are just going to tower over me. I'm kind of like a midget compared to most. But I started seeing guys that were my size and they could actually go into ring and people, and go out there and entertain the folks. I'm like, I know I can do it. So it's kind of my thing. Combination of that and Bret Hart, and then a little bit of Yushin Liger. I wrestled nothing like him, but I really enjoyed his work. So
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, that's how it went. So then now you started training, you had your first few matches with Power Pro, and then like anybody else, you start going out there and working for other promoters and other indies. So what was your next stop? Because I know Power Pro ceased to exist at one point. Where did you go after that?
Um, let's see. To be honest, while Power Pro was still running, I had moved to Georgia, to Atlanta. Um, my father had moved down here. My ex-wife had gotten pregnant, so I had to like, okay, because I was living in Myrtle Beach. You know, Myrtle Beach is a tourist town, so it was like, well, I need something steady. So I moved down to Georgia, but I got introduced to Georgia wrestling because of Ty Tyson, because he had his debut match at Anarchy, and I went with him to go. Of course, I was watching from the crowd, but when I got to Anarchy to watch Ty, I still have that video, by the way. It was like I was mesmerized because it was like I had never seen a crowd like that. You know how that energetic is. But then again, at that time, I'd only been in the business what 2 years, maybe. Um, so it was because of Ty that I got introduced to Jerry Palmer with NWA Anarchy. When I finally moved here, I did a couple little shows for the Carolinas. You know, I did a reunion show for Power Pro. I worked for oh God, what's his name in Wilmington? Donnie. Uh,
I think I know what.
actually,
Yeah, I think I know. He used to have Stro there a lot, I believe.
yes,
UPWA, right?
it wasn't PWA. No,
UPWA.
UPWA. That's what it
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
Yes, UPWA. That's what it was. Thank you. Um, so I mean, I worked for him. That's actually where I had my very first match was UPWA. He put me under a mask and called me Blue Tiger.
Mhm.
Such weird names. Um, but yeah, so I had moved to Georgia and I got started here. I had an interview with Jerry Palmer, and he says, "Well, we're going to send you up to APW, which was like their sister promotion. Kind of like where they get the talent ready for Anarchy." So I had worked there, and then I started working for Anarchy, and the next thing you know, it just started snowballing. Next thing you know, I was all over the place for years, years. Of North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, Texas. I went everywhere.
You're putting in them miles, get the experience. Now, there's a point to where you're gonna wrestle under many different type of gimmicks. Don't you mentioned something there about Blue Tiger and so on. When did you finally come up with what was your current persona at that point? How did it finally land and make sense to you to be that character?
Now, are you talking about the Italian American bad boy thing?
Yeah.
Okay. So that actually happened at Anarchy because I was going by, if you remember, my name when I wrestled you, all those was Tommy Daniels. That was just my first name and my middle name. That's all it was. Um, it wasn't until I got to Anarchy and Bill Behrens had asked me, he says, "Well, what is it? What is Tommy Daniels?" I'm like, "It's me." He goes, "Yeah, but what is it?" It's my first name, my middle name. He goes, "Yeah, but what is it? What's the character?" I'm like, uh, and here's where he goes, "What's your last name?" I said, "Penirelli." He goes, "You're from New York." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You're an Italian kid." Yeah. He goes, "Why are you not using that?" And then it was just, I got with CB Suave. At the time, he was CB Gibson. We called ourselves Hot Commodity, and that's where the Italian Stallion came in. And then it just started to develop. But uh, probably about a year or two later, after CB and I disbanded, it was like, all right, no, I'm the Italian American bad boy. I'm the mafioso. That's where I started putting Brett and Sean and Taz and Chris Benoit all in one character.
And what you're saying there makes perfect sense. That is almost like the ultimate universal question for anybody. It took me years to finally realize it. At that time, they always ask you, well, who is XYZ that you're playing? And if you don't really have an answer for it, then you just switch up your gears because you're doing it wrong. So you should already know what you are because if you don't know, it doesn't translate. You can be a great worker,
Mm-hmm.
a decent but unless you are that gimmick or that gimmick is an extension of you somehow,
Mm-hmm.
it may not work very well for you.
No, because in my opinion, and this is something that especially beginning wrestlers need to understand. You can have a great match. You can be a great worker. The greatest line I ever heard came from the movie Eddie and the Cruisers 2. And this was the line. "Look, if I was in a bar and I heard you playing, it'd be nice being in there, but then I go home and forget all about it." It's the same thing with wrestling. If you have a good gimmick, if you know who you are, that crowd is going to remember you. Whether you have a good match, whether you have a bad match, they're going to remember you. And your character is what sells the merchandise. Your character is what sells the tickets. Your character is where these people are going to get their signs made up for you or buy your t shirts, stuff like that. It's all about character. You can throw clotheslines and body slams and hip tosses and super kicks. Okay, well, I don't know who that was, so I'm going home. Yo, did you see that kick that Tommy threw at him? Oh my God, it took his head off. That's the whole point of a character. You need a character.
You got to give them a reason to care about you.
Exactly.
And otherwise, you get lost in the sauce because, I mean, let's look at it like this. There's shows going on almost 7 days a week around the world. So you have to separate yourself from the pack. Now, you doesn't mean you have to be a total shitbag and bury somebody or shoot on somebody in there. Let your talent, let your character speak for you, and everything else will fall in place. But no, it's been a long time. I've had a great conversation about what we love to do, and we could probably I could do this all night and all day. I
Oh
might
yeah,
have to. I have to bring you back several times. We'll talk about it because
absolutely.
it starts bringing me back. I start having flashbacks of the same thing, the questions that were asked of me, and then which is why I love having conversations with Scrapyard and Power Pro because I sat there and learned from him,
Yeah.
and he passed some knowledge to me too.
Well, a lot of the answers that I have well, when I was in it, when I was training people for Robert Gibson, it's these are all answers that between Scrap, who was the first and foremost always gave it to me, and Robert when I would ask him questions. But it was also multiple talent. Hey, what am I doing wrong? Hey, why did I do? Ask yourself, why are you doing this? If you can't answer why, the crowd's not going to know why you're doing it either.
Yeah.
So
True.
it's there's a lot more to wrestling than just throwing an arm drag. Anybody can throw an arm drag, but why are you doing it? Can you make it look real? If you can't make it look this way, if you can't make it look good, then what are you doing it for? You know, that's. I mean, do you really think people would step behind Shawn Michaels if his finishing move was a boot to the stomach?
Right.
Well, they would because he knew how to sell the character. So if his move was as stupid as a boot to the stomach and knocked him out, he got the pin. Well, that's what they would follow. But if he was just a nobody, then a boot to the stomach, just a boot to the stomach. That's all it is.
Yeah. And it would not work, of
No.
course. Now, going back to Power Pro because I want to see what your experience was with this because
Okay.
here's my experience there. Do you remember how I forget the name of the theater, they had it there for a while.
Oh yeah. I don't remember the name of
So
it, but yes.
yeah, I'm trying to it'll take me 20 minutes to remember. I'll tell you at 3 in the morning when it comes to mind. No, so you know how the crowd was only on one side, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you had to work facing that way.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side was the curtain, which was behind there. You could walk into the other side of the theater, which is empty. It was kind of like the locker room for everybody.
Right.
It was a full size theater with nothing there, but it was a locker room.
Mm-hmm.
When you're out there doing your thing in the ring, how many people try to make you laugh behind that curtain, saying jokes or making some of these strange noises?
Oh man, me and Jeb talk about this all the time, dude. Jeb and Ty were the worst for it. We were the worst. I can't tell you how many times I had to turn around because so I could laugh a little bit because it was just so funny. But yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think at one point it was my own fault because I had somebody in a reverse chin lock, but I was facing the curtain, and somebody said, "Dummy, what are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I have to go face the other way."
Well, you see,
Yeah.
oh God, I'm trying not to laugh. When Jeb, well, of course you know Roland Dice, Jeb
Oh
Shook.
yeah.
He is my best friend in the world. Um, every time he would get in the ring, because he always just let me stay at his house, and whenever I would come up, and we just grew inseparable. But I'd be in the ring, and he'd be like, and he would just say the dumbest things, just like your head's big, your wiener's showing, just all these stupid things to make me laugh. And then but then every time he'd go out there, I'd be like, your belly's hanging, hey, wipe your butt, you got a crusty mark, just stupid stuff. We just to get everybody to laugh. We had a
No.
blast with it.
Yeah, I love working him because I met him for the first time I was in Roxborough, North Carolina. There was a promoter called Cat there, and they put his opening the show. Him and I didn't know each other from Adam, but we went out there like him and we've been wrestling for years, and that was kind of like how it was working with him. You're always so comfortable that anything went, but everything made sense,
Hmm.
and uh, and he's a legit guy too.
Yeah.
He's he knows his stuff. Martial
Hmm.
artist. He can twist you up in a pretzel, but yeah,
See, I tell everybody, if you see a picture of Jeb or rolling dice, people may think, he's not much. Jeb will hurt you. Jeb will hurt you. Jeb is the sweetest guy in the world, but he's also, I dare you to mess with me. He's one of those type too.
yeah, and I learned down the road later on. So thankfully, I was kind of. So I asked you, how was I nice to you? Sometimes there's times there comes a point in your time where sometimes you start believing your own hype, and there's people out there that will humble you really quick. And that happened to me. I'm not embarrassed to say it happened to me a few times. I had to hit the reset button. Like
Yeah.
now I understand. I think we all go through a phase like that, right?
I mean, it happened to me, not severely, but it did happen. Um, but I was also one of those where I was so passionate. I didn't care. I mean, yeah, of course, everyone wants to make money. And of course, you want to get a prop or whatever it is you want to call it. It was one of those, scrap kind of instilled in me that, let's try to make it as perfect as we can. So I took it very seriously. So when I see people messing up, I kind of got on them a little bit. And did I get my jaw rocked once or twice? Yes. But it wasn't because my head was big or I had a big ego. It started to, and Mark James knocked me right out of that. So
Oh
that's what
yeah,
I was.
Mark James. Yeah, he went on to because I know he was with the gimmick was given to Doodleys, and I think after that I don't know who he was tagging with, but that tag team was something else, man.
Oh,
I
the
can't
Brutes,
remember
him
the
and Jimmy Parker.
yeah
Yep.
the Brutes.
Yeah, Mark is still wrestling now. He's doing a single gimmicks and called himself the Brute. He had retired for a while and then he just got back into it and fell in love with it again.
Good. We need guys like him out there.
Yeah, because Mark will humble you real quick.
Yeah, and is one of the guys I never really got to work with when I was down there, but the roster was stacked, and is almost in a way I like to call it a not in a bad way, like a purgatory of wrestling.
Yes.
So in a sense to where you get all this talent from different parts of the country, one way or another, they always cross paths there. You might see them one day in WWF or E now, ECW. You might see them in Impact or TNA. You might see them in ECW already or Ring of Honor. So there is always a perfect combination of who's coming and who's going.
The I think the bit. I mean, Power Pro was such a great time, and it could have went so far. Management issues got in the way and kind of brought that car to a screeching halt. That's all I can really say about that.
Right. And
It's just it's a sad thing, and I know a few years back before Scrap passed, I know there was talks about doing a Power Pro reunion show, trying to get all the old guys, me, Jeb, Mark, you, Ty, so on and so forth, but it just all fell through.
that's unfortunate because that area was known for Power Pro
Hmm.
and Power Pro did so much. But just like anything, the party eventually ends one way or another. So let's talk about towards the end of your career. And I don't want to get too personal as to why you stopped, but can you remember
No,
what was your last match and who was it with?
let's see. My last match was in AIWF, um, North Carolina, Mid Atlantic. I had wrestled Ty Tyson. Me and him had many feuds. I wrestled Ty, and then I had to stop because now I was just got separated, going through a divorce. My son was having surgeries, just numerous things. Had to move out of my house, and it was a nightmare for a long time. But then about 2.5 years ago, I had gotten back together with my high school sweetheart, and she had never saw me wrestle, but she always remembered me talking about it for years. So she never saw me wrestle. So I called Ty and went up to AIWF, and my last match was in 2020. No, excuse me, 2023.
Not that long ago.
No, but it wasn't one of those storylines. It was just one match done. Because I'll tell you the truth, I've been out of it for so long. When I took a bump, I was like, "Yep, okay, I'm done. Enough with this."
I
But
had a similar experience myself.
it's just it's the thing where it kind of reminded me of my very first training session, and it was like, oh my god, this hurts. And now I'm 42, 43 years old. And it's like, yeah, I landed on my back for 15, 16 years. I can't do it anymore. It hurts too much now.
It does. Now, I mean, going back to when you first started training, you can take the pain pretty well. I 18 years is what I did as far as in the ring.
Mhm.
I went a long gap, about 7, and I decided to try again. You kind of get soft within those years of pain tolerance
Oh,
because
yeah.
there's you can take pain. I mean, as a guy, you can take a certain amount of pain and stuff like that, but it's different when it comes to wrestling training. I learned because I did 2 sessions. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I understand why. I'm done. There's no way I'll start again.
Yeah. I mean, look, when you're young, you could take, you're right. You're 100% right. You have so much pain tolerance. But it's just like, keep repeating, keep repeating. Next thing you know, you're bumping on concrete. You're getting
Yep.
hit with chairs. You're getting put through ladders and tables, and you're still protecting it. And you don't, well, give away the secret, you don't feel it that much. But when you stop and you're not doing it constantly, and then you take your bump, it's like you just hit concrete for the first time. And it's, it hurts. But then again, we're getting older. We ain't getting younger.
No, and that's one of those things where I still see people who were wrestling before I started, and they're still wrestling now, and they're well almost into their 60s. I could only imagine how it is they feel or how they're going to feel afterwards.
I I don't know. I'm trying to figure out. Like, I know a lot of the guys that I grew up with are not wrestling anymore, and praise to them. But to be honest, I we all still love it. We all still love it to this day. We may not watch it, we may not follow, but we all still love it. But for me, it's I have a hard time watching because if I do, I wind up critiquing the WWE, going, "Nope, you shouldn't have done that. Nope, that was out of place." I don't want to do that anymore. At the same time, I start to miss. It's like maybe I should make the phone call and get back in the ring, and I don't want to do that because I'm done. I don't want to be. I don't want to do it anymore. It hurts too much, to be honest. But
Yeah,
yeah, just seeing people still do it, yeah, they have that passion, man. If that's what gets them going, then go for it.
yeah, and I don't watch myself now. A couple things, same thing, similar with you. I don't enjoy a certain product. There's other things I can watch, but
If I am
sometimes
going to
I'll
watch
start.
wrestling, it's going to be old school.
Yeah. So let me ask you this then: do you catch yourself sometimes running over a match in your head?
Yes, all the time,
Isn't that the craziest thing?
all the time. I could be. I'll give you a little example. My girlfriend lives with me, and she's like, "How do you do this?" And and I'll somehow, some way, I'll turn it into a wrestling move. I'm like, "Yeah, okay, grab the arm, grab the head, and shoot me off, and give me the shit." And she's, "Where does that come from?" I'm like, "I don't know. It just happens.
Yeah.
It's just you can't stop."
No, and there's times where like, you know what? I think I could probably do this. And then I was like, no, you cannot. You're an old man now. You're well into your 50s. You know, enjoy podcasting. Hurts less, easier on the wallet. And
Hmm.
I mean, I'm hurt like a son of a gun right now. But I
Well, Diego,
mean,
let me ask you. Let me ask you. Let
yeah,
me ask you a question, sir.
yeah.
See, because this is when people ask me all the time, "Do I miss it?" A little bit. I miss the people that I met. Do I miss performing? Of course. Do I miss it entirely? No, because I like having my weekends available. I like being able to go. I can go here. Oh no, I can't. I got a show over here. I like that.
Yeah.
I like having me spending
Mm,
time with my son.
yeah. I mean, we already did our time and our time has come and gone. But I like to think that people still know who we are somewhere. I'm sure somewhere in a basement in a vault before there was social media, there's some VHS tapes out there that
Oh sure.
we have matches in there somewhere.
I mean, I found up on YouTube about a couple months ago. That was his name, Giancarlo, the one we talked about earlier. Giancarlo, the one who
Yes.
tagged with Little Dragon. Um, I found the match that me and him did back in '09 at that fairground. I mean, so yeah, it's out there. We're out there. People still come across us, I'm sure.
They do, and they still call you by your nicknames from wrestling. 'Cause sometimes we have our normal life names at work, but nicknames stick forever. They still call you by some of those?
No, everybody still calls me Tommy.
Yeah.
Everybody still calls me Tommy. Yeah, nobody really. To be honest, I haven't heard anybody call me any of those names in a couple years.
'Cause I still call him Dice.
So do
That's what
I.
yeah.
So do I.
He's never escaping that.
No, he's not. Well, because that's how I was introduced to him. Was what's up? I'm rolling dice. I'm like, you're what? you know.
It's
But
just
yeah,
like with yeah,
he's always known me as Tommy. So
just like glute. I still
yeah,
call him glute.
yeah. I still yep. I do the same thing with Sandy. I can't call him Sandy. I always call him Glute. That's just how I know
Yeah. I'll forever call him that till the day I die. So
him. Mm-hmm.
that's the way that, it's wrestling. You always build a bond and a friendship with several people. And
Mm-hmm.
you're always that person you first met with them. And it lives forever. The gimmick lives forever. So now that you're retired from wrestling, you're like me, you don't watch too many of the films or you don't watch the shows. So what are you doing now to occupy your time? Because I know you were going out there off-roading into these very dangerous woods with Dice and some other friends. What do y'all is it are you guys
We
like part of a yeah.
we do. We have something called JT's ATV. It's a YouTube channel where me and Jeb, when we actually are able to get together and we go to West Virginia, Tennessee, South Carolina. We just ride all these parks. Our favorite spot is West Virginia. We go up there. We take our wives, girlfriends, and go up. Sometimes we do guys trips. We go up there. I mean, we just love to ride, enjoy the woods, nature, get out of the house. Of course, it's expensive as all get out. It's kind of like I am wrestling again. We just have a good time, man. Just, and then when I'm not doing that, I got my Mustang club, my Mustang group that I'm with. So I'm always doing something. Cleaning,
Good.
fixing, car clubs, JT's ATV, driving my son crazy. I'm always doing something.
All great things.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh, speaking of, because we've had probably road stories for days. What kind of off-roading stories do you have? Because I know sometimes you could come across some weird stuff in the woods, man.
Okay. It didn't happen in the woods, but again, me and Jeb tell this story all the time. I've actually got two stories. So we had a big group. We all went up to West Virginia. And I'm an early bird guy. I'm up at like 5:36 in the morning. And so was Donnie, who was our friend. And Jeb was asleep on the air mattress. But everybody else was up and ready to go riding. It's like 7 a.m., 6 a.m., whatever it was. Donnie looks at me and he goes, I'm like, what? We wound up picking up the air mattress and watching Jeb roll off the air mattress and smack into a wall. And all you heard was assholes. It was the funniest thing we ever did. There was, let's see. I've got one of it's wrestling related, but we were still in North Carolina, me and Jeb. So it was after a Power Pro show. I was staying at Jeb's house. We decided, remember that diner that we used to go hang out at after the show?
Unfortunately, I do not because I used to, as soon as I was done, I headed because I had to drive all the way back to Northern Virginia. It was quite a long trip.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So we decided not to eat anything over there. We just wanted to go back and chill out at the house. But we wanted to pick up some, I think it was a Wendy's. Remember Jeb's S10 truck?
Yes.
Oh, God. So we're driving around, and there was this big, humongous pothole that is still there, I might add. This big, humongous pothole. It was like 12 o'clock at night. Jeb's driving, his truck hits the pothole and goes boom, 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 boom. Me, I jump, I'm getting bolted up. Jeb, I'm looking at Jeb. He gets bolted up, smacks his head on the roof of the car, and all you hear is "God damn!" in that high, squeaky voice he does. Me, I'm crying, laughing. He's cursing up a storm. You had to be there, but I was crying. I was laughing so hard. But I'll tell you one more quick one about a road story. Again, has to do with me and Jeb. Me and Jeb got all these stories, dude. It's friggin' hysterical. As you know, I used to stay at Jeb's house all the time. Well, Jeb used to leave his front door open for me. So I get up there and Jeb, dice, dice. Okay. So when I go around the hallway, I look in his room and I see he's sleeping. Okay. I go back to the front door, drop my bags, and I come running full speed, going down the hall, and I'm going to jump on him while he's on his bed. At the last second, he opens his eyes, sees me, rolls in. I hit the bed, somersault, smack the wall, fall back on the floor. And Jeb's just like, try it again. It's just who we are, man. We've done some of the similar stuff up in the woods too. We're just dumb.
It's that wrestling instinct that got him out of that one. He rolled out the way.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And me being the rookie that I was, didn't protect myself.
It's all right. But you want to choose him the hard way on that one, man. We can probably tell stories all day and night. Let's do this.
Okay.
I'd like to bring you and Dice back together.
Okay.
Let's discuss some of these stories, not only Power Pro and some of the road stories, but what we're doing afterwards. And I'm sure there's more stories you have about not only about the wrestling road stories, but as far as stories when you're going out there off-roading.
Okay.
And let's talk about it. I'd love to. In fact, we'll call Glute. We'll make it like a. You know what we're gonna do?
What?
The High Rollers versus Tommy and Glute. We're gonna get in there. We're gonna do it one more time.
You got it. Except this time it's not gonna be in a ring. It's gonna be on a podcast.
And it'll be less painful too. Tommy, brother, thank you so much. It's been really good for my heart. I love talking to you. And now let's bring you back in, my friend.
Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate being here. Anytime you want me, I'm here.
Thank you, my friend.
All
Thank you,
content
sir.
on this broadcast is a property of Diego the Podcaster and is served directly from our servers with no modification, redirects, or rehosting. All celebrity impersonators are paid performers. The impersonated celebrities do not endorse or promote any views or opinions expressed by our guests, Diego the Podcaster, or Bonus Overdrive Wednesday. The information shared on Bonus Overdrive Wednesday is provided on an as-is basis, with no guarantees of completeness, accuracy, usefulness, or timeliness.